go the way you think. Fulfill your destiny.
I need someone to show me my place in all this.
Hey everybody, this is Mark Tiberius Lemke, a Chicago Blackhawks fan. This podcast is part of the Batman Universe Podcast Network, and you can help support the Batman Universe by heading to patreon.com/the Batman Universe, Tim. But before we get to anything, Tim, I know there was this big movie release, and I'm curious. Yes, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts on it because it's not what you thought it would be. Is it?
Yeah,
is that
right? Yeah, there was this little movie that came out this past week. I don't know. We haven't really talked about it too much, I don't think. There's like no build up or hype to it.
No build up or hype.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I mean, I don't know if you just want to dive right into it because that was going to be our featured topic for the episode, but did you just want to go straight into?
Oh no, I was gonna say let's just get into our Dark Knight Rises minute-by-minute commentary.
I was gonna say because it'd be weird to talk about that song, then we forget to do the Dark Knight Rises minute-by-minute commentary. So
yeah, we have to get through that movie first before we get to our main topic for this episode, because I'm super curious, Tim. I'm really curious about what you think, especially because it goes against some of the stuff that people have said and written about the movie, and I'm just really curious because I thought if anybody would have liked it, it would have been you, but that might not be the case, right?
It might not be. Yeah, well, we'll get into it. So let's get into the commentary because I'm anxious to hear your thoughts on it as well. So
okay.
It's going to be a little, I don't know, it's going to be conflicting thoughts, I'll say that.
yeah, definitely. So just grab your VHS copy, grab your Laserdisc, grab your HD DVD, grab your projector, grab your Blockbuster rental, and grab your Netflix physical media subscription DVD. And grab your DVD, I forgot to say that. And just cue it up to the 95th minute, right, Tim?
Yep.
And I'm going to give the countdown. So, Tim, are you ready?
Let's do it.
All right, 3, 2, 1, hit play.
First standoff on the bridge, which we'll come back to at the end with the military, and this time not with Bane's men, but with the GCPD. But right now it's just Bane's mercenaries against the...
Why are they trying to negotiate? Why didn't they just... I mean, they have Humvees.
Yeah.
just go through them.
It had to be maybe something where Bane's monitoring his men, where, if they shoot him or get rid of him, he'll set off the detonator.
Oh, yeah, I guess.
But that really wouldn't have carried out Bane's plan. I mean, would he really set the bomb up? Because, he wanted to see Bruce see the city suffer. And if he blows it up right away, wouldn't that go against his plan?
Right.
The military could have called his bluff if they wanted to, maybe. And I think you said this before. I don't know if it was on the commentary, but the great reception they must get down in that cave for the TV.
Because you figure this little cave thing is in the middle of nowhere, and I mean, does somebody have satellite TV, or is it just like a cable, like a 300-mile cable?
Yeah. It's a long wire.
Yeah, they just snake throughout the desert or whatever it is. But yeah, that's our minute-by-minute commentary. Now let's move on to our featured topic, which of course is going to be The Last Jedi. And you know what, Tim? I'm just going to throw it over to you.
All right, yeah, it's kind of funny after coming off The Dark Knight Rises. I think this movie has a little similar feel to that as far as being divisive. amongst its fans, but at the same time, it's not like it's a badly made movie or anything
I'm sorry,
like that.
Tim. I'm sorry, Tim. Let me interrupt you really quick. We are going to go into spoilers for the Last Jedi. So if you haven't seen it yet, definitely go and see it before you listen to this because, well, for me anyway, it's a movie that you don't really want to be spoiled on.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, definitely pause this right now and go see it, and then come back to this because, yeah, like I said, it's definitely one you don't want to be spoiled on. But let me just say something real quick, right on top, Tim.
Okay. Go ahead.
Are your complaints about the movie Rey, Snoke, and Luke?
2 out of the 3.
Okay.
Rey and Luke.
Yeah, Rey and Luke, right.
Yeah, so, I mean, yeah, right away, my initial reactions after the movie was over and I was walking out of the theater it was a feeling I never really had after a Star Wars movie before, where I just came out like really disappointed in some of the story directions they went with it, and in particular those 2 characters that I mentioned. It just, because, yeah, even with some of the stuff that, you know, you can kind of nitpick and complain about the prequels, whether it's Jar Jar or some of the humor that was in there that just didn't work. It never affected the overall story of the movie and the overall story of the saga in those ones. But for this one, The Last Jedi, it really did. It made me just question about some of the events that happened in the previous movies and how they can kind of almost not add up too much in this one. And just the course of the Skywalker legacy and the direction it's going to go next. So I'll go ahead and give my big complaints and negatives out of the way first for right now. Number one being Rey parents being a nobody and just coming from nothing, which in itself I think it's a cool background story for the character to have. You know, as Kylo Ren says, your parents are nobodies. They sold you off. I forget. I should specify too that I've only seen it once. And
I think it was for drinking money. I think it was.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah.
But I've only seen it once, and I've heard from everybody who's seen it once and kind of had some similar thoughts or feelings about it that I did. They've seen it twice, and they said it's a whole much better experience for them. So I'm hoping that's going to be the case for me when I see it again, which hopefully will be very soon. But yeah, so like I said, that's a cool story for Rey to have, and like for someone to come in from like those terrible origins, like her parents getting rid of her and her living on her own and surviving, and yet becoming, you know, having Force sensibilities and, you know, becoming we're assuming going to be a Jedi, and then, you know, the next hoping for the future generation of the Jedi and the galaxy. But the problem I have with that is kind of making everything that the Skywalkers did in their name almost like forgotten or pointless now, because their Skywalkers are going to be remembered more for failures of the galaxy than actually saving it. I mean, Luke did what he did in Return of the Jedi, redeemed Darth Vader, and with that helped bring in the end of the Empire. There was a time for peace. But then that's pretty much the only success the Skywalkers are going to have, because after that, he failed to bring up the Jedi Order again, which, you know, we all thought was his next like calling that he had to do after he redeemed Darth Vader, got rid of the Empire. He'd established a new Jedi Order. That didn't go right, and he went into, you know, exile. Now we know why he did it, not to learn, you know, to just meditate and try to find out what he did wrong and to correct himself with the Force. He went there to close himself off from the Force and to die. He even said that, I'm just here to die. So just completely given up just on Ben Solo of what he did. And the fact that I'd be okay with it with Rey and all that if Luke really kind of took her under his wing and trained her to fact that, you know, to kind of redeem himself for failing Kylo Ren. But that never happened. He gave her that one, like, few little lessons, but nothing that she could really take on and like to learn from herself, like he did with Yoda in Empire Strikes Back. He just pretty much left her on her own, and after she left, and he destroyed all that was left of the Jedi teachings. But thankfully, she took those books before he even knew, and she had those on the Falcon at the end, which I thought was cool, and just to show that she will have some training, because I did kind of find it hard to believe that the movie left it where she's going to be the start to train this new generation of Jedi, but she hasn't really been trained yet. Like, how's that going to work? But thankfully, it shows she took those books, which is going to give her some stuff to go off of and to be trained on. So that was fine. But at the end of the day, to me, it's like, okay, this movie, the saga films are about the Skywalker family, and now we got to episode 8. It's kind of like, okay, the Skywalkers are pretty much screwed up the galaxy with Anakin. Luke redeemed him, but then Luke failed Ben Solo and couldn't bring up the Jedi Order and just went into exile. And Ben Solo's, wreaking havoc across the galaxy in this current timeline. So the Skywalkers are going to just end up as failures. But now we just need this group of new and upcoming people with no connection to them to kind of correct what the Skywalkers did and do what the Skywalkers couldn't and establish a new Jedi Order. To me, that just doesn't feel right when this series of 9 films is about the Skywalker family. And yet it's going to end on a note where they couldn't do what needed to be done, but these new random people are going to be able to establish what they couldn't. And to me, that just doesn't sit right with me right now. And like I said, maybe on another viewing, the story that they're going with will click with me better. Or maybe I'll have to learn to accept it. As Kylo Ren says in the movie, I have to let go of the past, or maybe just my expectations on what I felt the Skywalker film should be. But right now, that's how I'm feeling with it. I just feel like for a film series that's about the Skywalkers and their family, it's going to end on such a negative note about them and how it's not, at the end of the day, it won't be them who brings peace in the galaxy and establish the new Jedi Order. So that's really my number one issue with it right now.
Yeah, and I can definitely see where you're coming from, and it seems like a lot of Star Wars fans agree with you.
I'll say it's pretty split because I've seen a lot of people I follow on social media and Twitter. They all love it. I kind of feel like the outsider. I know a few people who kind of feel what I do, but it's weird. It's like I don't see a lot of negativity and feelings that I have for it, but the people I follow who like it, they say they're seeing a lot of the negativity and split between it. So I know it's kind of all over the place, but it just kind of depends on who you're following and the fans you interact with, I guess.
Well, I guess coming at this movie for me is I don't really feel that connection. Where this new trilogy is about the Skywalkers, and everything that you've said. I see it more as and this is kind of the initial feeling I had coming out of the movie, and then going on Twitter and stuff, is I don't think Luke in particular has ever been set up to be that next guy. I don't think he's ever been set up to be the leader of the new Jedi Order.
Really, even from watching Return of the Jedi, because that's ever since I was a kid, that's all I've grasped. That this is the beginning of a new generation for Luke to build up.
Yeah, in fact, I had to go back and I watched the last 20 minutes of Return of the Jedi, and I never got that feeling that he was going to be the next guy. I thought he was just going to, train somebody and then let them go on their way, instead of, we're going to establish something, we're going to establish the new Jedi Order. But I guess my big problem with, all people like you that think that Luke was supposed to start this new Jedi Order is the fact that I think Luke, at the end of the original trilogy, I think he realized that there is no way that he could do it right. And I kind of get the feeling in this movie that he had a hunch, back in Return of the Jedi, and then now it's just confirmation. The Last Jedi is confirmation of this, and that the Jedi have to become something else. And I think, that's at least what I got from this movie, the lasting impression,
And I agree. I would agree with that because at the beginning, I did kind of like how Luke was that, jaded person who, wanted to see the Jedi end, because he was right when he mentioned how, when he's telling Rey about, the problems of the history of the Jedi, how they let Darth Sidious rise to power and become the Empire. He technically is right. The thing that I was hoping for is that he would see the new hope and the new generation of Jedi in Rey and would play a part in building that up by training her. Like maybe he said, okay, I failed to bring the Jedi Order back, but through Rey, she could probably be, the one to do it. Maybe the one where I failed. Let me help her do that. My problem is that by the time the movie was over, Luke didn't really help that much in Rey's progression into that.
Yeah, but it also could be the thing where it's more like no matter what he does, it's his lasting impression on Rey it has faults in it because he was trained by Master Yoda, who trained all these Jedi, who was the head, I guess you could say, of the old Jedi Order. And with that comes flaws, and no matter what Luke does, no matter how Luke teaches Rey, those same flaws would be imprinted in her. So what she has to do, in a sense, is do her own thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know.
That's a good point. I never looked at it that way. Like, no matter what I do, like, even if I try to help her, it could be the wrong course for this new generation because the way I was.
Yeah, it's like no matter what you do, you're still gonna imprint on somebody that bad, flawed way of thinking. No matter what you do. So that's just the sort of thought or feeling that I came away with, where Luke just isn't that guy. And I've said this from the trailers, that I have gotten the impression that Luke isn't that guy that's going to start the new Jedi Order. He's not the person for Rey. It's just not Luke. And I know a lot of people have had trouble with that, especially because it's Luke Skywalker, and he's the center of those original trilogy films. His father was the center of the prequel trilogy, and I know it's kind of hard for people to realize that maybe the Skywalkers aren't such a great thing, and for the Jedi, and maybe they're just not good or right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the problem I have with this.
Yeah.
I'm trying to grasp, because, like I said, these 9 set of movies are about the Skywalkers, and that's going to end on a down note about them. Like, that's why I'm having trouble grasping right now. So, I mean, at the same time, too, I don't want to like I said. First of all, I got to see it twice. The second part is we got to wait for Episode 9 too to really see where the story goes. I mean, it all depends on Kylo Ren too. I mean, because he's the last Skywalker now, the one with that bloodline.
Well, so Luke's a Force ghost.
Right? I mean, in the living, living place.
Okay.
So, he's gonna determine, is the Skywalker name gonna end with him, or is he gonna redeem himself? Is he gonna have a kid with someone? I don't know. So it's gonna be interesting. I'm really anxious to see what JJ is gonna do with Episode 9 to where this is left off. But yeah, right now it's those story beats about Rey being a nobody and the Skywalker legacy kind of being almost ended up going to be remembered for failing more than it succeeding. Is just what I'm having a hard time grasping right now and accepting. So maybe I'll get there and just realize that this is the story, the course that's going to carry on. But right now, that's just the feeling I can't shake. And yesterday, all I did was think about this movie literally every minute of the day, no matter what I was doing during work, driving, eating. And then by the time the day was over, I just had some free time. I didn't even want to do anything, like watch anything, play a video game. I went shopping for some of the new books. I read the book. I just sat there thinking about the movie, listening to John Williams' score, just thinking about it. Like, I couldn't bring myself to do anything. This movie just, as much as even though I was disappointed with a lot of the story beats of it, the movie definitely stayed with me when I was thinking about it. And I think that's the good thing, because the worst possible thing could be like, oh, I didn't like it, and I forget about it. Like, not even think about a Star Wars movie afterwards and forget about it. That would be even worse than just not liking it. So it definitely stays with you.
Yeah, and I think it's gonna take time, right? I mean, you look at Empire, right? I think people didn't really like it when it came out. And I know for a fact the reviewers didn't. Not sure about the fans though, but I think you just have to see it again, and B, you have to think about it more. It's definitely, and I think this is I think this is this is so great that it's splitting fans, because I think it's what the Star Wars franchise needed. You know, it's not, everybody doesn't always have to agree on everything, right? And I think that's one of the strengths of this movie, that, you know, some people like me love it and love where they're taking the characters, love the fact that Rey's a nobody. And then there's people like you that, you know, it's not sitting well with them. And I think that's just a great thing for the Star Wars franchise.
Okay. It's always good to have nice debates. I mean, sometimes it gets pretty nasty online, of course, with fans. But we could have civil debates on why we think it works or things it doesn't. It makes for fun conversations. But
yeah.
So,
and as for the Rey thing, Rey being a nobody, I actually really, really like that. It just shows that not everything in the Star Wars universe has to be homogenous. It doesn't have to be this person is actually related to this person, which is related to this person, and that person from the prequel trilogy. You know, it can just be, this is a nobody. This character has no connection to anybody. She's not a Skywalker. You know, she's not anybody. And I think that really, really, really works for this new trilogy and for Rey.
Here's my problem with that and how it was done.
Yeah.
Well, I got a few actually. So first off, being, you know, these set of movies being centered about the Skywalker family, and everyone, even the directors, Kathleen Kennedy, everyone talked about this, like the Skywalker saga, these films, and to have your main protagonist not be a Skywalker or connected, all the reasons I said before, it's like, it feels a little strange. But more so that, because I think, like I said, Rey's story is good, but the problem about it for me is also, why do they bother to keep it a secret this long? Why not just say it in The Force Awakens from the get-go, to have all these fans, myself included, speculate on it, try to think, oh, there's got to be, if they're keeping it a secret, it's got to be something pretty significant. And even in The Last Jedi, they were building it up. Like, we thought at certain points Rey was going to learn who her parents were. That moment in the mirror cave where she's looking at that reflection, and that it's kind of fogged up and it's getting clearer and clearer, and we're going to see who it is. And it just ended up being Rey. And I thought to myself, oh, so is it going to be like she has no parents? She's like a manifestation of like a new Force birth, kind of like Anakin. But then to have it all that build up, 2 years of speculation, she's a nobody. Can you have someone say a line of dialogue like that in The Force Awakens and have it established there, instead of having this 2 years of build up and having it be for that? To me, it's like unnecessarily keeping it a secret for that long, and to where someone could have been easily said in The Force Awakens and not have all this build up, and to have disappointment amongst fans like me and other ones who are, you know, anticipated to be having a stronger connection to just being a nobody. So there's a couple of reasons why I don't like that idea of her just coming from that. And I kind of would like it, like if they actually said, you know, the Force is kind of doing a course correction here type of thing, where, you know, it sees the problems of the Skywalker family name. It keeps, you know, either going to the dark side or failing to really bring balance to the Force. And we needed someone to, you know, put it in balance where the Skywalkers have failed. If they kind of actually said that this is something that the Force is doing, I probably would be able to take it better. But maybe that's just implied, because for myself, I'm kind of reading it that way, even though it's not specifically said, because it makes me feel better about the whole situation with Rey being a nobody and then being able to have this big impact on the galaxy to bring balance and hope to it. So I don't know. Like I said, that's something that I was really hoping she'd have more significance to her origin, but especially in this being centered in the Skywalker saga film. That's my big thing. And this is like Rian Johnson's new trilogy, and it was being like not part of the main saga, and this is with a character like Rey who comes from nobody. I would be able to accept it more, but since this is the Skywalker saga set of films, the fact that someone is gonna, you know, be the main like savior or hero, and it isn't the Skywalker, but the movie's all about their family. It's just, that's like I said before, that's the hard time I have in my head wrapping around that whole idea. So.
Yeah. Well, I think, you know, the thing with Rey, and I guess Snoke too, is the fact that people that don't like it, I'm just wondering if it's the fact that they were wrong or that their theory didn't matter. Because everybody was walking around with the shirt and everybody was on Twitter. Your Snoke theory sucks, right?
Mm.
I think what those shirts and the hashtags and everything on Twitter should have said is your Snoke theory doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And the same could be said for Rey. Is that why you're disappointed in it because it doesn't matter, or is it because that you were wrong?
No, I think it's different from Snoke because in Force Awakens they never made Snoke's identity to be a big deal or his origins. For Rey, they did. They kept it a secret and tried to create this big mystery around it for 2 years, and it seems like they really did that and encouraged fan speculation about Rey, and for it to become. And I know a lot of people like you are really happy and we're hoping that she'd be a nobody and a brand new character. So the half of that fan's going to be happy, and the ones on my camp thinking that since it's the Skywalker saga, she would need a big connection or an origin of significance to keep that going, or would be the disappointed half. But the Snoke, I'm totally okay with what they did with him because, like I said, they never built Snoke up to have this big origin mystery. That was something I think fans created more so than the filmmakers did with Snoke. So I actually liked how he was taken out in this movie. And I was kind of speculating like a few weeks beforehand that would be the case because Andy Serkis, Ryan Johnson, they kept saying, we don't dive into Snoke's history really at all in this movie. And they kind of played his role down a lot. Whereas like, this isn't about Snoke. So that just made me think, I think he might not make it through this movie and have episode 9 develop into something beyond just Snoke. Like he was just there as a purpose to have a figurehead for the First Order, but something's going to happen in episode 8 that's going to change all that, where it's not going to matter. Like the First Order is not going to be as big as an antagonist as it's going to be in the first two, and that's kind of what happened when Snoke got chopped in half. I love that whole sequence. Actually, I thought that was great. Yeah. So Snoke, I'm okay with what they did with him. I think that's more a fan build up than anything else. But with Rey, I think the filmmakers deliberately encouraged that and created this theories and speculation about her for 2 years unnecessarily because of not just saying her family's comes from nobody in The Force Awakens. Like easily could have been avoided there.
Yeah, and I can't defend that. The fact that they built up Rey to be this mysterious character and she just ends up being a nobody. But going back to what you were saying about Snoke, or you kind of had the feeling that Snoke wasn't going to make it through the movie. Mm. I had the same exact feeling about Luke, because if you think about it, back when they were doing all the promotion for The Force Awakens, who was the main person that they were focused on? It was Han Solo. It was Harrison Ford. He was doing all of the talk shows and, doing a lot of the promotion. And you look at the promotion for The Last Jedi, who was doing all of that?
Yeah.
It was Mark Hamill. So I kind of had a feeling. I was like, oh, Luke's not going to be making it through this movie. I think this is the last Luke movie. So yeah, in the end, it's a great thing that we're still talking about it. Tim, you're having some conflicted thoughts on it, which it's great. It's a good thing, and I'm sure you'll come around to it. Right?
Yeah, but yeah. I still want to give out some positives though, and I don't want to just feel like I'm all negative on it. So, I really like my favorite sequence in the movies was just tied in for what we're just talking about with Rey, Kylo, and Snoke. I love that whole sequence. That was really cool. And just Rey and Kylo Ren throughout the film, I think, were the highlights. And just Rey, even though she didn't get the training I wanted to see, just seeing her with Luke on Ahch-To was just really cool. Another problem I had with the movie was that I wasn't so invested in the Resistance and Finn and Rose subplot that was going on there. Every time we got to those section of the movie, was like, okay, let's hurry up and get back to Ahch-To with Luke and Rey. I just wanted to spend all my time there. So maybe I'll feel better about that too on a second go around on the Resistance side of things. But I did like it once everything we got to the end on Crate and the resistance there with Finn, Rose, and Poe. All that stuff was really cool. It's just kind of in the middle when they're on Canto Bight. I really didn't like the Canto Bight sequence on there. But because before I get to more positive, let me just get one more negative out of the way.
Is it all negative, Tim?
It's not all negative, I promise.
Do you not like this movie?
No. It's I thought the humor in this one felt off to me. And it was like, I know the Jar Jar humor was more slapstick and definitely felt out of place in Star Wars. This one, while different, felt out of place too. Even from the get-go with Poe talking to General Hux, is like saying, "Oh, who is it? General Hux? I'm waiting for General Hux." It went on too long. It just didn't feel like Star Wars. It felt something that like Iron Man would do in a Marvel movie or something. It just didn't feel natural into the Star Wars type of humor. And then the Canto Bight stuff, I didn't mind how it looked or anything. Certain aspects of it did, like some of it looked a little too real world casino. Some of the like human characters, I guess I should say. And then some of the humor with BB-8 and that little creature and those slot machines and him firing out the coins later on against those guards and like blowing his like lighter like a gun, like that felt out of place too. So some of the humor didn't work for me, but not all of it. There was some funny stuff that I thought did work. BB-8 in the walker blasting up Stormtrooper, that was awesome. I love seeing BB-8 do that. So the humor is another thing that I felt a little off in this one. So, but with that out of the way, let's get to my positives.
Well, I mean, the thing about the humor is like, how do you insert humor into this? I mean, it's kind of a dark movie if you think about it. Mm-hmm. It's kind of hard to do that.
Yeah, and again, like humor that doesn't work for me is not the end all be all. If we can all survive Jar Jar type humor, we're okay with anything. It just felt different in this one. But yeah, so like I said, Luke and Rey on Octo, I loved all that stuff despite not going where I wanted to by the time it was over. And I really liked the connection with Rey and Kylo Ren, that whole, where they could see each other through the Force.
Yeah.
I loved that aspect. I thought that was a cool new way to use like that Force connection. Though I was a little disappointed that it was Snoke who put it there. I thought it was, just because they had a strong connection to each other. And it's still there, so maybe it'll build on that. But regardless, I thought that was a cool way to connect them and have them communicate with each other without being on the same planet or whatnot. So I did like that aspect of it too. And like I said, the whole Snoke throne room sequence was awesome. The way it built up to Kylo about to kill Rey, and Snoke is seeing it through the Force. I could see you igniting the saber and striking down your greatest enemy, but yet Kylo's going to strike down Snoke. I love that. That was really cool. And then the action sequence with Rey and Kylo teaming up and fighting those Praetorian guards, that was really cool. It was a different type of Star Wars lightsaber battle, but again, I want different in these movies, so that was great that we got that. And so that was really cool. And then even the Battle of Crate, I thought that was a really cool action sequence too. But the planet itself I love the look of it, the salt and the red undertones once you go underground, and then also those crystal foxes, the Vulptex, I thought were really cool. I love the creatures in this movie. And the Fathiers on Canto Bight, they were really cool creatures. My favorite sequence on Canto Bight is the sequence with Rose and Finn riding the Fathiers like through the casino and out and through the open field. I thought that was cool. So yeah, the whole final battle on Crate was awesome. And so not all of it was where I have complaints of. It's a mixed bag for me. I don't want to say like I don't like it. I do. It's right now just hard to put it up there and have that same feeling I have with any other Star Wars movies, because like I said at the beginning, this one affects the story like of the other films like no other movie in the saga has done before, and that's what's making it really hard to process, because I'm not really agreeing with some of the story choices they made with it right now. But as a course of a whole movie, it's definitely, it's a Star Wars movie. I don't think it's impossible for me not to like one. And then even though there are, but this one, as weird as it feels to have some major plot points not work for me, it's still a movie that it's enjoyable to watch just as a Star Wars fan because of some cool sequences like that. And even some great character moments too, even though, like I said, the story for them didn't go the way I want. There's still some great moments between Luke and Rey that, are really cool. So yeah, I just got to see this movie again. I mean, that's all it's coming down to right now. I'm just really hoping for a better experience now that I know what to expect. I can just sit back and take it all in, and hopefully some of that stuff I have problems with will work better for me.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, how did that Force connection work? I mean, there was Rey and Kylo, but it was being facilitated by Snoke, right?
Yeah, so he obviously, knew about their lightsaber battle that they had in The Force Awakens and that connection there, and probably was the power that he had was able to just link them up between that. So I hope that continues through episode 9. I would really hope it if they have more physical scenes together where they're both together actually in the same planet or area or whatnot. But if not, I hope we still get more of that Force telephone calls, I guess.
Well, Tim, if you could give it a rating, what would you give it?
Right now, I'd probably give it a 3 out of 5. I mean, yeah, I'm going to go with 3 right now. Because like I said, I got some major story points from it that aren't working for me right now. But in the end, there's still a lot of great stuff in the movie that I did like. And so enough to warrant a 3.
Well, what did you like, Tim? Because you still haven't told us.
I just told you all.
I'm just playing.
I was going to say, that wasn't enough. Come on. Now, living here the opposite for me, I know you really loved it. Well, did you have any negatives with it, or not really?
My one big negative is there wasn't a lot of Princess Leia. General Leia. She was kind of in it, but for most of the movie, she's out of it. I just wish there was more Princess Leia, especially with the fact that Carrie Fisher passed away. But besides that, it's not really. I don't really have any complaints with it. I think my main positive is that Rian Johnson, he didn't do what we expected.
Yeah,
everybody expected. For better and worse, for every Star Wars fan, Rey isn't connected in any way to the Skywalker family. Every reason that we've listed, right? And there's no big lightsaber battle between the two big main villains. I thought that was really, really great for this movie because you kind of expect that from a Star Wars movie, and he didn't do that. Well, kind of. He didn't do that. And if this new trilogy is mirroring the original trilogy in Empire, there's the big Vader Luke fight, and there isn't that in The Last Jedi, and it's not the movie that we expected. It's certainly not the movie that I expected. And I'm really, really glad that it split the audience. And I mean, for better or worse, that it split the audience, and that we're still talking about it, and we're still thinking about it constantly, and all of this stuff. What I didn't know was Rian Johnson actually directed one of my favorite episodes of Breaking Bad.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's called Fly. And that episode, you either hate it or you love it.
That sounds familiar.
It's pretty much just two people in a basement. So, and it's very, very character driven, and some people didn't like it because nothing happens, but it's character driven. You learn more about the characters instead of having this big action scene, So, yeah, I totally love what Rian Johnson did. I love this movie. And 2 years is going to be 3 years is going to be a long, long wait for episode 9, 10.
Yeah, you got that right. Especially when we got the Han Solo movie coming in May, not December, next December. So it'll be great to have two Star Wars movies this close to each other. But after Han Solo, it's going to be like a long time.
Yeah, and did I read it correct that J.J. Abrams just pitched episode 9 yesterday?
I heard reports about
Friday.
that. I don't know how accurate that is, though, because I imagine they'd be working on the script for a while now, since he was announced that him and Chris Terrio were going to be writing it. It's hard to believe that they're just pitching it and then they're going to be writing it. Maybe they showed them the script, what they have, like a draft of it, but
yeah,
I got to think it's further along than just a pitch.
yeah, right. So yeah, I'm gonna give it 4 out of 5, 4 out of 5 stars because yeah, it's not the perfect movie. I kind of don't have any complaints with it. I just wish we had more Carrie Fisher. I kind of wish we had more with that with the little Finn, Poe, and Rose group.
Yeah.
In fact, I think they could. I think they could have their own movie.
That's the thing. Like with this, it's kind of like another thing that's different about it. Like what's supposed to be the main group of heroes, like Rey, Poe, and Finn. Like they're never on screen together. Like they're always out. Even in The Force Awakens, they were barely. Besides Rey and Finn, like with Poe, Poe just introduced himself to Rey at the end of this movie. So it's kind of like the main heroes are like split apart from each other. We'll see if that continues in Episode 9. But it would be nice to kind of get a movie where they're together more than they are apart.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, hey, you liked it. I mean, I liked it. You're kind of on the fence, Tim.
Yeah, I'm in the middle. Yeah, when I never thought I would be for a Star Wars film. I gotta be honest, it feels weird.
Yeah,
it really does.
And it's funny because I didn't like Justice League, and everybody else liked Justice League. So now you know what I kind of feel like.
Yeah, it's on another level for me on Star Wars. It's
yeah.
I don't like it. I gotta say, I don't like this feeling. I'm happy everyone else is really liking it. That just makes me think, why am I not? Why is it not connecting? I mean, like I know why, but why is it like I feel so strongly about that? Or I shouldn't say everyone, but the most people, it's really working for them, and it's not for me. It's like I don't like that, and I'm usually the one who's always the more positive about things when there is stuff that's could be divisive. I'm usually always on the more positive side of it, and this one I'm not. This feels weird.
Yeah, because you're a Skywalker supporter, right?
Yes.
For better or worse.
Hopefully our next episode, Dane, I'll come back with after I see it, maybe more than 2 times. I'm definitely going to see it more than twice. So hopefully I'll have a better reaction and feeling towards it by the time we get to our next episode.
Yeah, I'm just wondering what they're going to be doing now. Because, I mean, you have Luke as a space ghost. But Carrie Fisher, I mean, how are they going to do that?
I'm really hoping Episode 9 takes place a few years after. I think that'd work better for the story, especially, with Rey, if they were going to make it where she's more stronger in the Force, have a few years to go by where she's able to read those Jedi texts. And it's even with the Carrie Fisher situation where, instead of just picking it up right after, it's going to make it harder to explain why she's not there. But if it's a few years, they could probably give an explanation, like an in-universe story, why Carrie or Princess Leia or General Leia is not there, whether she's somewhere else, or I have a hard time thinking they're going to kill the character off where we don't see it, with Princess Leia being such a huge character in Star Wars, to say that she's like no longer, like, that she died, but we never got to see it. I don't know if that'd be the right way to go. So I think maybe they'll just say she's off doing something or whatnot, instead of just saying the character has died. But it's going to be really interesting to see what JJ comes up with. Man, it's going to be a tall task for him to make it work and all that. So we'll see.
And does she become a Force ghost?
Oh, that's the thing. Depending on if she was taught how to do it, because that's all, as we learned from that Yoda arc.
Oh, yeah.
Clone Wars, you have to be taught in order how to become that. So maybe Luke, Luke could commune with her and teach her how to do it, just like, Obi-Wan, Yoda, and Luke learned. So it's definitely possible.
And where did Luke get those books from?
They were just on the planet. They were left there. They
were left there.
They were just always there on the planet.
Well, it's a great movie, Tim. It's a great movie. I don't know why you don't see it.
I'm hopefully eventually, like, here's my hope, whether it's a long time from now or the not too distant future, hopefully I'll say, man, remember that time where I really was disappointed in The Last Jedi? And how wrong was I? That's what I want to happen later on.
Well, if you like it, if you don't like it, definitely see it. Definitely see it again. It's it's a great movie, and yeah, we'll just leave it at that.
We'll see where it goes from here.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess that's it for our feature topic for this episode. I know we're not a Star Wars podcast, but Star Wars.
I think since our very early on, like before we got to single digit episode numbers of our show, people know how much we love Star Wars. So we have to talk about it.
So yeah, now we can just get into our news and discussion topics. This isn't a very good one. If you love the Justice League movie, if you like the Batman vs Superman, Man of Steel movies, but there's going to be shakeups at Warner Brothers after the disappointing Justice League box office. I don't know if it was necessarily a disappointment. I think I remember reading like it's the most money a bomb movie or a bad movie has ever made or something.
Yeah, you're right. Like at the same time, like we said on our last episode, with Justice League, it should be making a lot more than it did. It should easily clear $1 billion with these iconic characters. But this whole news of this shakeup at Warner Brothers, it was expected after the disappointing box office numbers. But what's getting me, and this is coming from Variety reported this, is the shakeups they're doing doesn't make sense to me. Especially because they were saying that Jeff Johns and John Berg, they were in charge of like the DC Films division of Warner Brothers. Now that's pretty much going away. I think that John Berg's going to be off doing his own thing somewhere else. And here's the thing that gets me, that really made me upset reading this. Jeff Johns pretty much now is going to be reverting back to more of an advisory role, not pretty much being in charge or having say in anything, which is like the worst possible direction Warner Brothers can go. To me, he was like the one person in there, like the reason Wonder Woman was awesome. I mean, he's not the only reason, obviously, but I think he played a big part in that and making sure they got the character how it should be. And even Justice League, the stuff of like the things that people liked about it, especially with Superman, was him not being a dark, evil character for the whole movie, which reading reports looked like he was going to be, and having him be the more hopeful and inspiring Superman everyone's been waiting for. And I think the most universal thing that people said about Justice League, regardless they didn't like it or not, is that by the end, that was the Superman we've all been waiting for in this movie universe. I think a lot of that came from Jeff Johns' mandate to have the character be that way. And now they're getting rid of the one person I think had the best influence on these movies, and now he's going to be gone. And it's like, Warner Brothers, what are you doing? You just don't get it. And it just, again, what we said in our Justice League discussions, like where they're going to go from here and how they're going to bounce back from this. Not to go in that whole discussion again, but just made me less optimistic about what they're going to go forward with Jeff Johns not playing a big part in it. So to me, this is a really dumb move by them, and it's really disappointing. And like I said, we'll see where it goes, but it made me less optimistic than before, which I really didn't want to be. So, but I guess we'll just have to look forward to more great comics from Jeff Johns, and I guess maybe more on the TV side of things from him. And it's just disappointing that his influence won't be felt as strongly as it should be for the film. So,
but he hasn't left. He's still there, right?
He's still there. His role is going to be a lot smaller. Like I said, just advisory. You know, that really doesn't add him out too much because he could give advice. They don't have to listen to him though. Where before, I think he actually had like creative power to like do things where they'd have to listen to him, but now it looks like that's not going to be the case anymore.
You see, I'm not sure, like you, how to feel about this. I do agree in the sense that there needs to be a shakeup with Warner Brothers and the DC movies. I just think they need more movie people on this franchise. I'm not sure if Jeff Johns is the right guy. I'm not sure if he's the right guy to lead it forward, and I can see why they sort of diminished his role in that. But I do agree that like I said, there has to be some kind of shakeup because you can't put that much money into a big movie like Justice League and have it do what it did. So, yeah, I think there needs to be more people that know how to make movies rather than people that make comics. And
Yeah, but you still gotta have that comics. That's what have a person knows what these characters work, though. What makes them fan favorites and all that. And
yeah, but if you really think about it, Christopher Nolan didn't really have anybody like that, and he made some of the best superhero movies.
No, that's definitely true. I just think when you're trying to have a universe set of movies, you need someone who knows all about the characters. So, but maybe they're not, like we said before, maybe they're really not going to focus on universe building anymore. And if that's the case, then yeah. But because I think even the report, like even just like a separate DC Films division isn't going to happen anymore. It's just all going to be under Warner Brothers Films. Like they're not going to have separate division and all that. So
that's actually a really, really good idea. Have the
I
people,
disagree.
Yeah, have the people that are working on these movies work in the same place as the people that make movies. Rather than have two separate divisions.
But it could work. Like again, you got to compare it to Marvel. Their movie studios division is doing awesome. They just need someone in charge to oversee it all. That's the problem with Warner Bros. And I thought Jeff Johns really could be that guy, but now it's not. And who knows who it's going to be, if it'll ever be anybody. So.
Yeah, I guess. Wow, Tim. I mean, this is like, if this is your first time listening to this podcast, Tim is usually the most positive person I know, and I'm that person that's. This is a terrible idea. This is terrible. So if this is your first time listening, just know that Tim isn't usually this negative.
I know. There's a bizarre world or something. Like, what's wrong with me?
So yeah, I think this is a great idea. Something needs to be done. We can't keep on having these low-rated movies on Rotten Tomatoes, and nobody going to see these things. So yeah, there needs to be something.
Yeah, as divisive as The Last Jedi is right now, I'm sure Warner Brothers would love to be in Disney shoes.
Oh, yeah.
The reviews The Last Jedi got and the money it's making.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So, yeah, that's it for our news. I guess we can move on to our mail section for this episode. And Jordan did send in an email this time, Tim. He said he sent it for our last episode, but for whatever reason, we just didn't get it in our inbox. So. Oh, I see.
We're sorry, Jordan.
The Gotham by Gaslight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. I just hope I didn't accidentally erase it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, are you to blame actually for no email last episode?
Yeah. Sorry for the emphasis, everybody.
It's just signaling the email section of the episode. It's the sirens are like signaling the transition.
or maybe they're rushing for Tim because something's not right.
Tim's being this negative. We got to get over there quick.
Jordan says, "Hey Tim and Dane and Alex, I want to delve into that Batman Gotham by Gaslight trailer because it looks absolutely phenomenal. Gotham by Gaslight is one of my favorite comics of all time, and they really seem to be capturing the tone and suspense of it well, as far as I can tell from this trailer. As you might imagine, I'm also so glad they decided to incorporate Selena Kyle into the story for the movie. It looks like we might have some Batcat scenes to look forward to. As I think you mentioned with regards to the longer sneak peek that we got earlier this year, Tim, it is really great to have Bruce Greenwood back as Batman. He's one of the best. This is one of my most anticipated entries into the DCU AOM line ever. They gotta think of a new acronym for that.
Yeah. I think it is getting shorter, though. I think they're going to change. I think, DCA. Jordan actually mentions that later in the email coming up. So that's what I heard.
Speaking of the DCU AOM line, they seem to be shortening the title again. It was originally DC Universe Animated Original Movies, then it was DC Universe Original Movies, and the box art for Gotham by Gaslight just says DC Universe Movie. I don't know if that's a good one, Tim. I'm not sure what to make of that, if anything, but I thought I'd point it out. I'm still gonna keep referring to it as the DCU AOM line, though.
See, I always just call it DC animated movie. That's all I usually say when I ask someone, "Hey, do you see the latest DC animated movie?"
Yeah, just DCA. DCA.
We got to have the M for the movie though. Because DC animated.
Yeah, DC animated. Yeah. So the DCAM.
There you go. I like that.
Yeah,
DCAM. Yeah.
That's not the only trailer we got though. We got 2 trailers for Batman Ninja. They finally released the one from New York Comic Con, and they also released a brand new one. I really dig them both. This looks so visually stunning and like nothing we've ever seen before. Not even in Batman Gotham Knight. I actually love the Joker's design. He looks super creepy to me, and it looks like we're going to get an awesome sword fight between him and Batman. Yeah, like I said, the Joker in the Batman Ninja, he just looks like a vampire to me.
Yeah.
just a regular vampire. I also love what we're seeing of Catwoman. I'm very happy that it appears she's going to be fighting with the Bat family. I'm hoping this will be a second movie in 2018 that I can look forward to some Bat-Cat moments in. The movie is also the first time we're getting all 4 current canonical Robins together anywhere outside comics. Dick, Jason, Tim, and Damian are all in it. What about Carrie Kelly?
Yeah, that's who she's not there.
Yeah.
But she's not. Well, yeah, she is. I keep forgetting they introduced her in the New 52 as part of the main canon, but she just disappeared.
Yeah, she's not in Rebirth, right?
No, yeah, that was, at least none of the books I've read have been any mention of her.
That should be cool. I love the music in the trailer, but I'm not sure if it's actual score. Finally, I'm very curious if the film will be subtitled in English like the trailers, or if we'll actually get an English dub. I'm hoping for the latter. Tim, I know you have opinions on that.
To me, I can be either way. If they're just going to have it in Japanese, I think that'd be cool since it's really, an anime movie with just Batman characters. So if it's just the Japanese subtitles, I'll live with that. But if it's an English dub, I can live with that too, just as long as it's a good voice cast. So I'm good either way. I'm going to be neutral on that one.
You sure you're not going to be negative on it?
No, I'm going neutral.
Okay. I enjoyed Batman vs. Two-Face, but I certainly didn't love it. As with most Batman 66 stuff, my reaction is kind of just meh. I have a tremendous amount of respect for Batman 66, but ultimately, it's just one of my preferred iterations of the character. The Bat-Cat stuff in this movie was great, though. I love the scene where Batman visits Catwoman at her cell window. I also loved how they Jordan is really into this Batman Catwoman thing, isn't he?
Oh, you just realized that?
It's like the 4th time he's mentioned that.
But man, Jordan's got to be in heaven with what's going on in the comics right now, which we'll get to later with Batman and Catwoman.
They're getting married. I also loved how they incorporated Lee Merriweather's Catwoman into the film as well. It was very clever. The Two-Face stuff I had mixed feelings on. I thought William Shatner delivered an excellent performance. I honestly think his Two-Face voice could have worked in a serious Batman film. At times I couldn't even tell it was Shatner. However, I didn't like the creative choices they made with Two-Face. I'm very protective of Two-Face due to Batman Forever. He's one of my favorite Bat villains, and it really bugs me when he isn't portrayed well. Surprising.
Understandably so for Batman Forever. Yes.
Yeah, this is very surprising. The most fascinating thing about Two-Face is his origin. How did he go from Bruce's friend and Gotham's White Knight to one of the city's greatest threats? This movie started off with the accident instead of giving us time with Harvey pre-accident in order to make us invested in him. So what happens to him is more tragic. Well, I guess you could say the same thing about Batman Forever, right?
Yeah, because he just starts off as Two-Face.
Yeah, we get that flashback. Yeah,
but not even a flashback. It's Bruce watching an old news report about Harvey Dent going Two-Face.
How did that make it on the news?
Yeah. And you think they would allow cameras in there for that type of trial? I guess they did. Yeah. Maybe because Batman was in the testifying there, they wanted to film it. So.
Oh, yeah. To make matters worse, it makes Harvey's Two-Face condition more of a physiological ailment than a psychological one. that takes away much of what makes the character interesting to me. As soon as Robin turned into a Two-Face, I knew this movie had gone off the rails with that. There's some other stuff I did like in this movie, however. It was cool how they incorporated King Tut and Bookworm into it, and I enjoyed the cameos from Hugo Strange and Harleen Quinzel. It was also, of course, just really nice to get to hear Adam West as Batman one final time. Overall, I like the film, but it's not something I'm going to be singing the praises of. The Deathstroke solo movie has me very excited. This appeals to me much more than Deathstroke being in the solo Bat flick.
See, now you're getting the chance to try to say that without issues, Dane.
Jordan, I think you gotta find a different way to say it, put that down. To me, Deathstroke is much more of a Teen Titans or Green Arrow villain than he is a Batman villain. Now, I'm a proponent of the idea of any villain in the DC universe being able to cross paths with any hero in the DC universe at any time, and vice versa. However, Batman has the best rogues gallery in all of comics. To use a villain for a solo film who isn't traditionally a member of said rogues gallery just seemed like a waste to me. Now, we don't actually know if Ben Affleck intended for Deathstroke to be the main villain of that movie. If Deathstroke was merely a pawn of another villain, Hush perhaps, or a secondary villain, then I would have been all for it. However, I was never on board with him being the main villain of a solo Batman film. So when we learned that Matt Reeves was starting from scratch, I was none too disappointed about Deathstroke likely no longer being in the movie, other than feeling sort of bad for Joe Manganiello. I think that's how you pronounce that, Tim.
Manganiello, I think it was. I'm probably saying it wrong, but
Joe Manganiello. I think, given that he seemed quite enthusiastic about the role. However, I did still want to see Deathstroke show up somewhere in the DCEU. My guess/hope at the time was for him to appear in Nightwing, but Deathstroke getting his own film is awesome too, in my opinion. And based on what we saw in Justice League, it looks like that's not the only place he'll be showing up. I'm not familiar with Gareth Evans, but from what I've heard from you guys about and others about his The Raid movies being amazing in the action department, that bodes well for him directing a film about the world's deadliest mercenary.
Just give me one Batman versus Deathstroke fight, whether it's in a Batman movie, Deathstroke's own movie, somewhere, I'll be happy.
Yeah, it was the hardest fight in Arkham Knight.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Sorry, Arkham
or not
Origins.
Arkham Knight.
Yeah.
Origins. Yeah.
Yeah. Origins.
Arkham Knight was a little disappointing, where he's just in that vehicle and you're fighting him in the Batmobile.
Yeah.
Like, Deathstroke is a villain you want to have a physical fight with. So yeah, the Arkham Origin one was really cool.
Speaking of Deathstroke, how about his return to Arrow this season? Man, that was awesome. I won't mention any spoilers in case you haven't seen it yet, but all I'll say is that I feel that the Deathstroke fight scene at the end of Deathstroke Returns was like his version of Batman's Martha Rescue in Batman vs. Superman. Incredible. Of course, Manu Bennett's acting was excellent as usual too.
Yeah, so it shouldn't come as a surprise that the two best episodes of Arrow this season were the ones that focus on Deathstroke. They were really good, yeah. The ending sequence he mentioned in that first episode, Deathstroke Returns, was so good. It was more brutal than I was expecting for a CW show to have too, but it felt right for Deathstroke. It was really good, and so far the highlight of season 6 easily.
So how is that new season of Arrow?
It's not as bad as 3 and 4 just yet, but I have a bad feeling it might get there because Felicity and Oliver are married now, and
they are.
You know how much I hated their relationship in the 3rd and especially the 4th season, how it just brought the series down, and what made season 5 so great that was barely even touched upon, and now it's back and worse than ever. So
they're going hard. I mean, that's going to be their couple.
Yeah. And just that relationship with them never felt natural to me. It felt like fan service from the get-go, and for it to progress this far where they're now married is really disappointing. But there's some good stuff in this season. Like I said, not as bad as 4, but it's not as great as 5 was. So it's a little step back from last season, unfortunately.
What happened to Black Canary and White Canary?
She's off on the Legends of Tomorrow series.
Who, Black Canary?
No, White Canary, Sarah
White
Lance.
Canary. Oh, that's right, because Laurel, did she die in
She's dead, yeah.
Arrow? How did she die?
She died in season 4.
Okay, so I didn't watch that whole season. So,
but now they got a new Black Canary, like pretty much the real Black Canary, the Dinah Drake one, who just never had any previous connections to Oliver until she showed up as a hero. But see, to me, it would have been better if they just started off with that version of Black Canary, the Dinah Drake one, what we have now, instead of this whole Laurel nonsense. And this is how they screwed that up in her character. They did not handle Black Canary well at all.
Really? Like really, really badly?
Yeah, like they didn't know what to do. We'll bring in Sarah Lance first, which to me is the best one, who was the Black Canary. But we knew Laurel, they called her middle name was Dinah, so we knew eventually she'd take up the mantle, which she did. She wasn't the best, but yet it was, where we thought the story would go. But then they kill her off. Yeah. But then, we still need a Black Canary, so we'll bring in the real Black Canary. Yeah, it's really, they handle it poorly.
It's weird that they didn't know how to handle that. Because, I mean, it's just let Oliver and Laurel fall in love, and then they fight crime together.
Exactly.
I mean, that's easy.
Wasn't that hard, yeah, but no. Had to make it more complicated and dramatic than it needed to.
Is Huntress still on the show?
She hasn't been in it for a long time.
Oh, really? I thought I saw somewhere that she's coming back.
I think they have planned to. I forget where or when, though. But, I can't remember, but it wouldn't surprise me if she did.
Well, good luck with Arrow and Oliver and Felicity.
Yeah. I'll continue to plug along and watch it. Like I said, there's still enjoyable moments. I'm just really disappointed. The Oliver and Felicity stuff reared its ugly head this season.
I really liked our first look at Brendan Thwaites as Robin. The costume is sick. It does remind me a lot of Chris O'Donnell's Batman Forever costume, which I did like, but without the nipples. I love that he's got the bow staff as well. My only issue is that I hope Brenton isn't primarily playing Robin on the show. I don't want another actor in their late 20s see O'Donnell playing Robin. I'm fine with Brenton playing Robin in just the pilot or just in flashbacks, but I hope he's primarily Nightwing on the show.
Yeah, and I agree with that. Actually, it would be okay if throughout the whole first season he was Robin, but then by the end of the season he transitions into Nightwing. You get that full character arc of the course of a season. I think that would be cool. So, but I agree. Eventually, for the course of the whole series, hopefully he should be Nightwing most of the time.
I know you weren't high on it, Tim, but I thought Batman number 34 was phenomenal. Tom King just continues to churn out masterpiece after masterpiece as far as I'm concerned. Spoilers, Batman and Catwoman's banter in this issue just had me smiling throughout. King there you mentioned it. This is like the 5th time.
More coming.
Batman and Catwoman. King continues to prove that he writes their dynamic better than anyone. The reveal of why they were tracking down Talia worked for me as well. The way I took it was that Bruce and Selina need to find Holly so they can clear Selina's name before they get married. I enjoyed the stuff with Dick and Damian as well. Is Grant Morrison's Batman and Robin stuff with the two of them still canon?
Yeah, I believe it is. It should be because, like I said, the relationship that Dick and Damian have is so strong here that it has to be canon. And I know when the New 52 started, they say all the Batman stuff is, but then they started picking and choosing what was still canon, what not, and what isn't. But I think the Batman and Robin stuff still is, and I'm glad it is because those early stuff with Dick and Damian were so good.
I thought Batman number 35... Did I read that? No. I thought Batman number 35 was amazing as well. Spoilers, I love that Catwoman won the fight against Talia. The highlight of the issue for me was a moment between Batman, Catwoman, and Damian at the end, though. Damian asks Batman if he's happy. Batman and Catwoman look into each other's eyes, and Batman replies, I'm getting there. I teared up reading that. When Batman is with Catwoman, I believe that the pain that drives his crusade subsides. King is allowing Batman to find happiness. You see, it's weird that it happened in comics. Batman ending up with Catwoman. But then I remember when The Dark Knight Rises came out, everybody was mad that happened.
Yeah, and I never understood why, because if you're going to give Batman a happy ending, Catwoman would be at the top of the list of the person he'd be happy with. So I never understood that, to be honest with you. So
yeah. Alrighty, it's time to talk about Batman Annual number 2. When Rooftops came out this year, it immediately cemented itself as my favorite comic book story of all time. I wasn't sure anything was ever going to top it for me, and I certainly didn't think anything would be able to top it this year. Well, I'm not sure that Batman Annual number 2 quite topped Rooftops. It is right up. Which one is this, Rooftops, Tim?
It's the story that came out like a little bit before the War of Jokes and Riddles, after the Vengeance of, or the I Am Bane storyline, I believe. Like,
okay.
Sandwiched in between there. It was like in the middle of King's Run. There's only about 2 issues.
Is that the one where Batman and Catwoman get together?
Yeah.
That's what I figured.
It is really good.
It is right up there and neck with it for me. This issue is absolutely phenomenal from start to finish. Spoilers, King gives us the beautiful, heartwarming, and bittersweet story of the Bat-Cat relationship from the first kiss to the last. I love the way we see Bruce chasing Catwoman through Wayne Manor and the banter they have. King writes their dialogue better than anyone has before. The first part of the issue leads up to their first kiss, and it does it brilliantly. Then we have the last part of the issue, which is such a tearjerker. I shed tears at the end of Batman number 35, but I was straight up bawling my eyes out reading the end of Batman Annual number 2. I was happy though. King gave Bruce and Selina my 2 favorite fictional characters of all time. Then happy ending in the comics that Christopher Nolan gave them on film 5 years ago. I love that Bruce and Selina got to grow old together as he was dying. Bruce suggested that Selina go get Barry to find another version of him on another Earth so that he'd always be there for her. I love that. Bruce and Selina's last kiss was a magical moment, and when Bruce finally passed away, it killed me. However, I'm so happy that he got a happy ending. This is how I've always wanted Batman and Catwoman's story to end. What really hit me was that incredibly sweet way it ended. I love you too, Cat, from the first kiss to the last. Bruce found happiness again with Selina, and he always loved her. I'm literally tearing up right now just writing about this issue. King honestly crafted a literary masterpiece with this one. Oh, and there's even a scene in the issue that nods to the Batman Elmer Fudd special and implies that it's canon, so that's pretty cool too. How would that work?
It just does, Dane. It just does. Yes, and it's awesome. But I know I didn't get to review Batman Annual number 2 in our last episode because I haven't read it by the time I recorded our last one. But I have read it since then, and I pretty much agree with what Jordan said in this email. It was a really touching issue that, kind of like you said, The Dark Knight Rises, Bruce getting that happy ending, but it had lasting for a long time. Because what's cool about the issue, it's all the way, it starts with them, very early on in the relationship stages of Batman and Catwoman, and then as them as senior citizens and way older, and Bruce gets sick and he ends up dying. And just seeing that the relationship lasted that long was pretty cool to see. So, these type of stories where it's like, what if and what could be the ending for certain characters. I know Green Lantern had that when Jeff Johns finished his run. So we'll see if this, I don't know if this will end up being the official canon and the ending for Bruce and Selina's story, but it's cool to read a version of what could be and what their life could have been if they stayed together so long. So it was a very, really cool issue. Totally agree with you on that one, Jordan.
Next up was Batman number 36, which is an awesome world's finest story. Spoilers, King kills it with Batman and Catwoman's banter. I love seeing them fight crime together as true partners in this issue as well. Great Bat-Cat stuff. King also does an excellent job illustrating to us how Batman and Superman view one another and the mutual respect they have. The issue goes back and forth between Batman and Catwoman and Superman and Lois Lane before finally converging the two stories in a hilarious way. The issue ends setting up the first Bat-Cat Doubleday, which I'm so excited for. I've also got to point out how much I love Clayman's art in this issue. He did a great work. He did great work back in Batman number 24 as well. And I'd love to see him work with King even more on this run. In particular, the way he conveys emotions on characters' faces really stands out to me. Man, Jordan is going to be heartbroken when Batman and Catwoman inevitably break up. Because you know this isn't going to last forever.
Yeah, it's comics, so yeah. So if you're going to need to support Jordan when that time comes, we'll be here. So.
Then he goes on to say, I did not have to switch to AT&T to get those Justice League posters. However, I chose not to mention that I was a Verizon customer.
Probably a smart decision.
Yeah, definitely. I guess I should get into my thoughts on Justice League now. I was grinning ear to ear as if I were infected with Joker Venom. Nearly the entire 2 hours seeing it for the first time. What a dream come true. I've been waiting nearly my entire life to see a live-action Justice League film. It's finally here, and it's awesome. Spoilers, the entire cast is excellent, and I love seeing them interact with one another. Batman and Flash's interactions were especially great, as I love the juxtaposition between their personalities. The film featured one of the best Batman scenes ever committed to film. When Batman used that crook to attract a parademon, it was very reminiscent of a scene from Justice League Origin / Justice League War. I loved what we saw of Aquaman too, and it's gotten me even more pumped for his solo film next year. Amber Heard was incredible as Mara in that one scene, and I loved what we saw of Alanis. I totally forgot she was in the movie. Amber Heard.
Yeah, it was short but sweet one. So featuring her as Mara, so it'll be cool to see her fully in Aquaman.
Cyborg was the surprise of the movie for me. Ray Fisher was excellent. I loved his arc in the film. He started out wishing Dr. Stephen Hamilton, his father Silas Stone, hadn't saved him. But by the end of the film, he embraced the second chance at life. I do have my issues with the film. Danny Elfman's score, the lack of backstory of Steppenwolf, and the use of him as the main villain in general, and Superman's return. But the movie was such a dream come true that those issues don't bother me as much as they otherwise would. I've also gotten mentioned that the post-credit scene was probably the best post-credit scene I've ever seen. I had to stop myself from shrieking in the theater.
I am curious of what Jordan didn't like about Superman's return, because to me that was like one of the highlights of it. But I know I kind of said it was surprising what they did, but I bought it. So I'm curious to what exactly he didn't like about Superman's return. So let us know in the next email, Jordan, because I find that very curious.
One of my complaints about Justice League was the CGI. It didn't look very good. And I saw this thing on Twitter that they sort of freeze frame some of the Superman stuff, and Henry Cavill's face looks so bad in those freeze frames.
The mustache.
No, not the mustache. Just paint. I guess drawing his face on the CGI character. It looks so bad. It doesn't look good at all.
Well, remind me not to ever freeze frame it then.
Yeah,
whenever I watch it on Blu-ray.
Just watch the movie when you buy it on DVD, Tim.
Yes, that's how I'm going to be getting it on DVD.
You're not even going to get it. You're going to rent it from Netflix, the physical media. Or you're going to go to Alaska and go to the last block.
There you go. But I'm going to buy a plane ticket there, get a subscription, rent a DVD, or maybe, no, I'll go even further. I'm going to rent an old VHS or VCR, but then get it on VHS.
Now, remind me if I'm just making this up, but didn't Blockbuster, when you signed up for a new membership, didn't they also check your credit?
That I don't remember, to be honest. Yeah, because by that time I never really had my own membership. Like my parents had one. I think my older brother got one. but I never got my own membership for it.
Wow. Maybe
Wouldn't surprise me though.
Yeah, maybe I just made that up or something. Anyway, I've got to pitch in on your conversation about Spider-Man movies. I haven't seen Spider-Man Homecoming yet. I plan to soon, but Dane mentioned it not focusing on a love interest as a good thing. I don't see that the same way. Well, obviously, Jordan, you love the Batcat stuff, right? My favorite Spider-Man film to date is The Amazing Spider-Man 2, and my love for it has a ton to do with Peter and Gwen's relationship in that film. Yeah, I kind of see where you're coming from, Jordan, but I don't think it was necessarily written very well. I just think that Andrew Garfield and I'm sorry, I'm forgetting her name.
Emma Stone.
Yeah, Emma Stone. I think they're just really good actors, and I think they sold it really well. That you believe that they were actually in a relationship. I don't think it was written good. I just think that they were good. They did such a great job developing their romance over the course of both of the Amazing Spider-Man movies, and I loved it. The two Amazing Spider-Man films are my favorite Marvel films ever, and so I'm actually disappointed that they rebooted again. Despite me still looking forward to Spider-Man Homecoming, I can almost guarantee, though, that I won't like it nearly as much as either of the Amazing Spider-Man movies, though. To each their own, of course. I just wanted to give my take.
Yeah, that's interesting. That you hold those Amazing Spider-Man movies in such high regard. I mean, I don't think they're awful. I still can find an enjoyment and watch them, especially the first one. The second one has its moments, but not one of my favorites. And yeah, probably if you really love The Amazing Spider-Man 2, you're probably not going to find the same enjoyment in Spider-Man Homecoming, because like we talked about before, the stuff they focus on in that movie is so different from Amazing Spider-Man 2. And if you really like what you got there, it's not going to be the same in Homecoming, but I'm sure you'll still find plenty to enjoy with that movie as well. It's just going to be totally different. So
yeah, Jordan, I'm not, like I said before, I'm not really sure if it's, I mean, when it comes to those movies, if it's if it's how it's written or whatever, or if it's Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone's performance in those movies. I think it's Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone rather than how it was written. But yeah, I'm not a relationship expert.
Yeah, my whole thing is always like the relationship is always the main focus of all the Spider-Man movies we've gotten so far up to Homecoming. It was a nice change of pace to still have the relationship stuff be there, but not the main focal point in Homecoming. It was, to me, Spider-Man's biggest success of its balance of everything. The Peter Parker stuff and Spider-Man, the relationships, everything, I thought it was just so well balanced where none really dominated the other over the course of the movie, which is why I really like it so much. So when you do see that, Jordan, let us know your thoughts on it too. Even if you don't like it as much as The Amazing Spider-Man 2, I'm just curious to see how it would hold up for you when it compared to that movie.
You know who didn't really have chemistry? Tobey Maguire and Kirsten Dunst.
It wasn't off the charts. Yeah, I'll give you that.
Especially in that last movie.
No, definitely.
Spider-Man 3, especially during the dance scene.
Let's not go into that.
Oh man, it's the only superhero movie I think that has a dance scene in it.
Fantastic Four 2 had that also, where Reed Richards at a club and he's dancing and he uses his stretching powers to enhance his dance moves.
Never mind. I take that back. Maybe Punisher, maybe?
I doubt that though.
Yeah. Punisher does have the only gay character in the Marvel Universe.
In the movies or the new TV show?
The movies, okay. Yeah.
I haven't seen the TV show yet. Like the Netflix, where I still gotta watch it soon.
It's without giving out spoilers, I almost gave up on it in the second episode.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah.
I've heard good things about it. But
it pays off in the end, and I think that's what people are talking about.
Okay.
Yeah, it pays off in the end. You just have to get to the end, because like the first two episodes, it's just a lot of people doing nothing. They do the Frank Castle thing where, I'm so depressed and I can't move on in my life. And it's just
Sure.
like, okay, we get it. We know who Punisher is. Kind of reminds me of the beginning of the second season of Daredevil. It's kind of
That'd be a
like,
good thing to me because I love that, especially the first half of the second season of Daredevil.
it's just kind of like or Foggy, or whatever his name is. Just kind of
Froggy,
like,
yeah. Did you call him Froggy?
yeah, sorry. Yeah, just Foggy being like, "Oh, you should be with Karen Page." It's just a lot of that. It's like, can we just move past this and like, let's just get to the main Punisher going after the guys. Let's just get to that part. So yeah. I don't know. Maybe it's different for you. Maybe you need that. First 2 episodes, 4 episodes. It's kind of like, let's just get beyond this. Like, it's just Frank Castle being depressed, and it's like, okay, maybe like 1 episode would have sufficed, but it's just
Okay, yeah. Still gotta check. Like I said, when it came out, that was Justice League weekend, and now
Yeah.
like the last 2 weeks have been nothing but Star Wars for me. Watching the old movies, and now this weekend I'm trying to see the new movie in theaters. So by next weekend, I'm hoping I can finally dive into the show.
Yeah, it definitely pays off in the end, and John Bernthal is a really, really good Punisher.
Yeah, he was awesome in the second season of Daredevil.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess this is really my fear of every Marvel thing that's coming out, especially Infinity War, is the fact that because I'm not gonna watch every single Marvel thing. I'm not gonna watch like 15 movies and four TV shows, and I guess I'm missing some of the references or something.
Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah, as long as it's small things and not integral plot stuff, like they've done a good job about that as far as not having to see everything to get the full plot, but just certain little small connections here and there.
Yeah, but despite it starting off really slow, I think John Bernthal is he's the reason why I'm watching the show. The only complaint I have is like I don't know if it's just him acting or he's told to do this, but every time like he's like running into like a battle or something, or he's like fighting some guy, he makes this yell. It sounds like he's trying to move like a full water heater by himself. He's like, ah.
Like his battle cry.
Like at one point in like the first like 2 episodes, he kind of attacks somebody with a sledgehammer, and like he just makes that.
I'll be thinking of you when I see him do that.
It's true. Like every time he does that, but he's a great Punisher. Besides that. But anyway, back to Jordan's email. Where was I? Tim, I totally get you slowing down on your Teen Titans binge. It can be hard to find time to go back and watch old stuff once the fall TV season starts. Eager to hear your thoughts when you pick back up, though. See, I'm not really sure if it's the fall TV season or if it's just Justice League and Star Wars.
It's a combination of everything, to be honest. There's just so much new stuff that's coming out that's really putting me on the back burner on the Teen Titans rewatch. So
yeah,
at this point, I don't know when I'm going to be able to rewatch it all, but I'll be sure to let you know what I do, Jordan. So maybe once the Titans live action show gets going, it'll get me back on like a Teen Titans kick, and then it'll make me go back and watch it. Hopefully it won't be that long, but if it does, maybe that'll be the thing to, get me back into finishing the series. I heard it's coming on a Blu-ray too, like the first few seasons. So maybe I'll just end up getting those and watch it there. Yeah.
I like the Defenders, but not nearly as much as either season of Daredevil. It got a little too mystical for my taste when it comes to Daredevil, and a lot of times when non-Daredevil characters were on screen, I found myself just wishing the Daredevil characters would come back on. I enjoyed it overall, though, and there were some great moments and performances.
heard that a lot about the Defenders. I'm kind of finding myself more in the minority of really liking it than most do.
Yeah, it's like, I just can't seem to get the motivation to watch that. I don't know what
Well,
it is.
You're going to have to watch it before Daredevil season 3 starts. I will say that.
Really?
Yeah.
Is the Defenders tied into Jessica Jones?
Yeah, it's little elements of everything. Like
Yeah.
it's all the characters coming in together for the series. It's only 8 episodes though, so it's a little shorter than the normal shows of all the characters. So it won't be as long of a commitment to finish it than those ones.
We'll see. You know what Punisher could really use, and that Daredevil uses really well? Just the one-shot takes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like the fight scenes.
Yeah, those are really awesome when Daredevil does it.
Yeah, I wish there was more of that, but...
And it could be like Daredevil's signature thing, though. That makes his show more special.
Or I don't think there was one. I'm not sure. Anyway, I love your idea for another Batman Beyond animated movie set in the DCAU, Tim. It would be hard for them to top Return of the Joker, though. However, I do feel like there's more that they can do in that world. Perhaps it's a possibility since they sort of went back to the DCAU with Batman and Harley Quinn, despite it being debatable whether that film is actually canon or not. There's also a movement going on right now try to convince WB to do a Justice League animated series reunion film. Like Tim said, Dane, I think you're going to be disappointed to see Batman Ninja next year. I, for one, am really excited about it. As I mentioned, I dug the trailers. Dane, Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, Justice League animated series reunion film. I mean, it's a shame that it even needs a petition to get that going. That should just be something they do automatically. So hopefully this petition really gets them wanting to make it, because it'd be so cool.
Dane, I'm definitely going to get you on my podcast soon as well. We had been doing a series of reviews of the previous DCEU movies leading up to Justice League, and I knew Tim was a big defender of Suicide Squad. Are you, Tim?
I am, yes. I know I'm one of the few, but I'm one of the ones who defends and says it's more enjoyable than people get credit for.
I will say, out of all of the not Zack Snyder, sorry, the DC movies so far, besides Man of Steel, I guess, I don't really count Man of Steel, that one was the least boring of all of those movies. Batman vs. Superman was boring, and Justice League was boring, but Suicide Squad, I have to give it credit, it wasn't boring.
See, I can get where Batman vs. Superman can drag in spots. I didn't think Justice League did, since it's so short. It kind of moved at a fast pace. At least it did for me. But I didn't find it.
I don't know.
Any real boring moments in there.
It was the scene where they were... I don't even know. I don't know. Like, to me, it was just... I don't know. It was kind of boring. But anyway, so I thought he'd be great to have on for that. I try to get guests on to talk about stuff that they like. That's not because I don't want negative opinions on the show, but rather because when you come on, I want you to have fun. And I tend to think it's more fun to talk about something you enjoy rather than something you don't. By the way, I want to thank you again for coming on, Tim. It was great.
Very welcome, Jordan. It was fun.
It was great fun. Dane, I'll be reaching out to you shortly so that we can discuss topics that you'd be interested in coming on my show to discuss. Mask of the Phantasm. I just rewatched that because it's kind of Christmassy.
I know what you're doing there, Dane. I know what you're doing.
What am I doing, Tim?
I told you beforehand that we're planning. I'm planning to be back on Jordan's show for Mask of the Phantasm. You're trying to butt in on me. That's what you're doing.
Yeah, Jordan. Just kick Tim off for this. Looking forward to having you on as well, man. Well, no pressure, Jordan. You don't have to find something. Just whenever something comes up, whenever something comes up. But anyway, Jordan has questions like he always does. His first question is, which DCAU Supergirl costume do you prefer? This might seem like a random question, but I recently finished doing a rewatch of Justice League and Justice League United. Oh, Justice League Unlimited. Perfect timing. They should do a Justice League United.
Maybe that's what the reunion show will be called.
Yeah,
Justice
right.
League Reunited. There you go.
Reunited. Perfect timing to lead up to the live action Justice League film. And I kept going back and forth on which costume I preferred. So I wanted to get your opinions. I've come to the conclusion that I prefer her second one by a small margin, since it is in the same style as Superman's costume, and therefore looks cool when they're side by side, which is exactly what Kara was going. Kara? Or is it Kara?
I say Kara.
Kara. Kara. I'll say Kara. I was going for. For me, it's not really an animated one. I'm gonna go with the Supergirl TV show outfit, because I've said this when I first saw it, and I'll say it again. It looks really, really well, especially for a TV show.
Mm-hmm. And it does fit the more traditional Superman and Supergirl style costume that we know. But I'm actually going to go in the different route. I always liked the first costume she had in the animated series, where it was like the white T-shirt with the collar and sleeves, having like the black trim on it. It was something different, but I thought it worked well, and especially for that time too, being like the mid '90s. So it kind of fits the style. Like sometimes the sleeves and the collar, like it's an old. We don't see too many of those shirt styles anymore, but they have like the black trims, like at the edge of the sleeves and the collar.
Oh yeah.
So that was the style they were going for her first costume. I kind of liked it.
Oh, I thought it was like Spider-Man 3, Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man suit when he gets the Venom.
No. Far from that. It's just like a normal teacher.
Yeah.
So yeah, my pick's going to be that one. Even though I do like her second one, where it was the more traditional style, but I like how different the first one was.
His second question is, with the live-action Justice League film out now, I wanted to look back at the 7 Justice League movies in the DCU AOM line and ask you how you'd rank your top 5. That wasn't worded as a question. So how would you rank them? I'm not including Justice League Dark, since that's not really about the Super League proper. This was much harder than I thought it would be. Than I thought it was going to be for me. The top 4 weren't terribly hard, but determining which film got my final spot was an ordeal. But I'd go 5, Justice League, Crisis on Two Earths. I find the crime syndicate so fascinating, and this climax of the film is awesome. I actually think it benefits from not being set in the DCAU as originally intended, since if it were, it would have felt too similar to a better world, in my opinion. 4, Justice League: The Flashpoint Paradox. I wish they had incorporated more of the events from the Night of Vengeance comics in this one, but it's such a good Flash story, and I can't watch the scene between Bruce and Barry at the end without crying. 3, Justice League vs. Teen Titans. I feel like I'm kind of cheating with this one, but it's technically a Justice League movie, if only barely. It's maybe not a great Justice League movie, but it's a great Teen Titans movie. 2, Justice League: The New Frontier. This is a movie that has really grown on me over time. It's such a feel-good movie, and it always makes me smile. Plus, it has one of the best Batman lines ever, but not the best. Jimmy, Drooly, and Guy Milks from Holy Bat-Fans. 1 is Justice League Doom. I just think it's a really brilliant story about Batman in particular and his place in the Justice League. And I love that so many of the DCAU voice actors returned to reprise their roles for it. You know what? I'm gonna just give this one to Tim.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Dane, have you seen? I know you've seen a few, but have you seen most of these?
No, I haven't.
It would be kind of hard to rank them.
Yeah, or I could guess.
So for me, my number 5, I'm going to go with Justice League Doom. Like you said, Jordan, I know it's your number 1, but seeing the voice cast from like the original Justice League series back was so cool, and the story was taken from the Tower of Babel storyline with Bruce having all those contingency plans for the Justice League. So it was cool to see that. And I have a soft spot for that movie because that was the first animated film I got to, cover and go to the premiere and do interviews with the cast for, which was a really, really fun experience. So I'll always have a special soft spot for that movie because of that too. Number 4, I'll go with Crisis on Two Earths. A really cool story. I love what they did with the crime syndicate. And the only thing that holds that back for me is the opposite of Justice League Doom, where some of the voice casting I thought wasn't the best, especially Batman, whereas William Baldwin, his voice to me just did not fit for Batman. It took a little bit of away from the movie being as great as it could be, I felt. And then number 3, Justice League War. I love the New 52 comic with Jeff Johns and Jim Lee when they launched that story. And I loved how it was adapted into film. They did a great job. The Batman Green Lantern banter is always a highlight. I just love it. And then number 2, I'm going to go with New Frontier, classic by Darwin Cook, and the second animated movie they did when they first launched this line of films, and it still holds up as one of the best. It's just such a great story, and the art style in it is so cool. But number 1 is going to be Flashpoint Paradox for me. They just did an amazing job with adapting Jeff Johns' Flashpoint story, which I loved. And yeah, it would have been nice to get a little more of the Thomas and Martha Wayne Batman Joker stuff, but even that was a side story from the main comic line, so I understand that they couldn't put it in there. And the little tease we got in the film was awesome. So all around, that movie just works so good for me. The voice acting, the story, the animation, the action, it's just so well done. So that's my favorite of the Justice League animated movies.
All right, so that's the end of Jordan's email. Thank you, Jordan, for sending in an email, even though we might have lost it or something got messed up on our last episode. So thank you for resending it. And
the show feels more complete with reading it now, because the other one without it fell off.
Yeah, it just felt weird. So thank you, Jordan. But now we can get into our comic book reviews. For this episode, it's going to be Batman number 36 and Batman TMNT 2. Number 1. Tim, our rating scale for this episode is going to be negative things that Tim has said on this podcast.
Yes. I was on the same wavelength that's probably going to have to be our rating scale. So yeah, Batman number 36. This one, I got to agree with what Jordan said in his email about how this being a really cool issue. I mean, the parallels between Superman and Batman, where they're both hesitant to talk to each other about Bruce getting engaged to Catwoman. I mean, Superman doesn't want to say anything, saying, Bruce will call when he's ready. And Batman's hesitating. He's like, I don't see why I need to call him and tell him this and all that. And just the whole issue is paralleling each other between Batman and Catwoman's relationship to Superman and Lois's relationship and how they interact with each other. And they're talking about either Batman and Superman. And over the course of it, they're having these conversations while Batman and Catwoman are off trying to solve a case of finding these criminals, and Superman's investigating a criminal situation with Lois's help as well. But it's like, that's not even what they're focusing on. They're just focusing on how to handle Lois telling Clark to call Batman, and Catwoman telling Batman that, you need to tell him about me. Like, she almost feels you're ashamed. But the reasons that they give throughout the course of the issue, while they're not telling or calling and talking to each other about this, even though, Catwoman and Lois are saying, you're their best friends, like, you two are like the closest thing you have to friends. I like how Bruce was telling Catwoman in certain situations is like, Alfred's like my best friend, or like giving different reasons of why Superman isn't. But and while that's true, Superman and Batman still have a special bond and a close friendship that he has with nobody else. So I do like how Bruce is kind of making others excuses of why he's not, and why sometimes he doesn't view Superman as his best friend, even though he probably is one of them. But it all comes to head where they finally are going to end up meeting each other in the same spot, even though it was unintentional, where their criminals are trying to make an attack there. And I do like, though, on the final pages here is probably my favorite part, where Batman and Superman are talking to, or telling, Superman's telling Lois and Batman's talking to Catwoman about what makes each one of them so special in each other's eyes, and their upbringing and their situations, and how they could come back from tragedies and do what they're doing now, and just showing that respect for each other is just so cool. I just love, hearing Batman say how Superman came from a world that was destroyed, and coming from upbringing where he was different and an outcast, and he became a beacon of hope that everyone aspires to, looks up to. And Superman is saying how impressed he is with Batman coming from such a horrible tragedy of seeing your parents murdered from your eyes and not giving into the darkness and becoming, into a symbol as hope in his own way to people. And I just love how they're saying different things about each other, but it's ending up being the same thing, and just the respect they have. And the final lines Batman and Superman say to Lois and Catwoman is just that he's the better man than I am. They say that talking about each other was so cool because they are so right. They're the different reasons and upbringings they have just made them special, but yet, characters that people look up to. And it's not even in the stories, but even in the real world. What makes these characters so iconic and so special? The way they described it, or Tom King had Superman and Batman describe each other, was just so well done. So I just love that aspect of the issue. So like I said, it ends with them actually bumping into each other, and it looks like a hotel room or a lobby out of an elevator. Batman and Superman quickly knock out the criminals they were tracking. And then Superman says to Batman and Catwoman, so you guys want to get a bite to eat? After Lois and Catwoman introduce themselves. And like Jordan mentioned in the email, it's setting up the next issue to be like the double date for the ages. So this is a really cool issue. I loved it a lot. And just again, showcasing why the Batman-Superman relationship is, so cool. And just their origins and backstories, and hearing each of them describe it to, in Superman's case, his wife, and Batman's case, his fiance, of why, each of them is special was really cool. So I'm going to give this one 4.5 out of 5 times that I was negative on this episode. And then we're come to the comic event of the year again. Should I make that claim already? Batman and TMNT number 2.
I was thinking they should do a Turtles in Time video game tie-in.
Oh, how amazing would that be? I would love it.
I would buy that in a second.
And we'll be able to play together now that you're going to have an Xbox soon. So
yeah, that's right. I should be here on Monday. I don't know why I just didn't go and buy one from a store.
Yeah. One less trip you have to make, I guess.
Yeah. And I just bought the regular S. I didn't buy the X because I can't see forking over $200 more dollars, over $200 more dollars for 4K resolution, even though I don't have a 4K TV.
Yeah, so if you don't have a 4K TV, there was no point. Yeah, so good call. But Batman and TMNT number 2, this one's picking up right where the last one left off as far as it being awesome. I just love how the series this next sequel to it got off. It starts off with the Turtles coming through a portal on like these rocket skateboards that you would see them use sometimes in video games in the old 87's cartoon, facing off against some ninjas. They were tracking Karai, who was the Shredder's daughter. And sometimes she could be his daughter, his stepdaughter, his granddaughter. But in this scenario, they're billing her as the Shredder's daughter. And the Shredder's gone right now. And like the Foot's looking for new leaders, and right now it's her, but there's this other group of elite Foot soldiers that kind of want to take over to be the leaders of the Foot clan. So the Turtles have a battle with them in the beginning in the subway, and then the crux of this issue has to do with Donatello, and he kind of gets beaten up pretty good by the elite Foot ninja. Even though they're able to stop him, he got beat up pretty bad and needed his brother's help to stop this elite Foot gang. And what I like about it is that Donatello, he's a smart one. He's getting frustrated that, he's not as good of a fighter as his other brothers are. And Master Splinter tries to console him and say, each one of you has your strengths. Your strength is your mind, and not everyone could be the best fighter. And I just love how Donatello goes, well, there's actually one person who's the best at both. And that, of course, is Batman, looking on the encounter they had a year ago. And, that's one of the coolest aspects about Batman. We know he's one of the best fighters on the planet and also one of the smartest. And I just love how James Tinian here with this issue is making Donatello realize that possibility can be done. And that's what sets Donatello off to try to go back to the DC universe and ask Batman for help and kind of help to teach him how to be both. Because if anyone can do it, it's going to be Batman. So I just love that that's the crux of this first issue and what's setting the things in motion and why Donatello wants to contact him. But on the DC side of things, in Gotham, Batman and Damian are infiltrating the League of Assassins, and Ra's al Ghul. But when they get there, they find out that, like, one of the ninjas is saying that, they're looking for someone in power to take over, the League of Shadows or the League of Sadness here, where, after Ra's had that team up with the Shredder that didn't go so well, it's leading kind of similar to what the Foot's going through, like they're looking for new leaders. And then Batman and Damian realize that, there's been a Lazarus pit in Gotham this whole time, as one of their assassins revealed, and they go to try to stop what's going on there. But once they find out it's not, Ra's al Ghul or anyone after they have attack against the Man-Bat ninjas, it's actually Bane coming out of the Lazarus pit, and, is making him even stronger than he already was, and just thinks this is going to be the one thing that really sets him apart from Batman and can defeat him. But as he emerges from the Lazarus pit, Donatello enters their universe through his portal. And when he did that, that accidentally sent Bane into the Turtles in New York City. And the Foot Clan see him, and they kind of hinted at that Bane is going to become the new leader of the Foot Clan, since they're really looking for someone to take over now that the Shredder's gone. And so that's where the issue ends, with Bane coming to New York and Donatello's in Gotham. So again, the thrust of the story of Donatello feeling inadequate, but looking to Batman for help, knowing that he's both a genius and a great fighter. I just love that idea to set things in motion, and seeing Bane become the leader of the Foot, or try to become the leader of the Foot Clan, is going to be something cool to see. So again, more great character stuff in this Batman and TMNT crossover. It's still, the effect of how cool and unique this is hasn't been lost on me yet, even though we're on the second series. So I'm all in again. I'm looking forward to where the series goes as the story progresses. And so I'm going to give it 4 out of 5 times that I was negative on this episode. It's off to a great start already. So I'm in comic heaven when I'm reading Batman in the TMNT.
It's as if it was written for you, Tim.
I sometimes feel that way. I'm not going to lie. I really do.
But anyway, yeah, that's it for this episode. Just go over to BatmanUniverse.net, Facebook.com/BatmanUniverse, Twitter handles @BatmanUniverse. Tim's Twitter handles @TimG311. I'll say 311 this time because to cheer you up.
Thank you, Dane.
And my Twitter handle is @DaneSaysBanana. Rate and review us on iTunes, and if you want to email the show, it's at batfanswithoutpants@gmail.com. So with that, like we say at the end of every single episode, Tim,
love each and every one of you with all of our bad hearts.
with all of your bad hearts.
I should say this episode, Bat and Turtle Hearts.
Turtle. We'll see you guys next time.
See you next time, everybody, where hopefully I'm more positive.